Financial Charles, and today's January 4th of 2024. This is the first video of the new year, so Happy New Year. Today I wanted to discuss why I am still buying Bitcoin. This is inspired by one of these comments that I just received about a couple minutes ago. This guy, he decided to check out my channel after I left a comment on one of my favorite rappers' YouTube channel, and he's talking about, but my guy, why in the F is you still buying Bitcoin, with some laughing emojis. So this is what the video is going to be about today. We're going to go over some technical analysis as well as some fundamental reasons as to why I am still buying Bitcoin, in hopes to clear up our friend Ian's confusion. I'm not quite sure what he's so confused about. Perhaps he thinks it's a bad idea to buy Bitcoin because it's currently up 168% from the bottom that was approximately 1 year ago today. So perhaps he's saying that Bitcoin is due for a pullback because it's gone on a monster rally the whole entire 2023. In the beginning of 2023, about January, it started about, $16,000. So started off about that price range, the $16,000, below $20,000. And as you guys recall, we were buying all the way down here as well as buying all the way up. And today it stands at 163% above from the bottom. So maybe he thinks we're due for a correction. But let me explain to you why we may not see a correction, or we possibly might see a correction. And even if we do see a correction of perhaps 20 to 25%, we can expect to be anywhere between the $30,000 to $36,000 range if we were to see any major correction before blast off. Because as we all know, we're just waiting for the SEC to approve the Bitcoin ETF, so that way large corporate entities can start delegating assets and liquidity towards Bitcoin. So it's not a very good time to sell right now because of that, as well as the Bitcoin halving that is coming up in about 3 months, where the amount of new Bitcoin in circulation will be cut in half. So that makes Bitcoin twice as scarce as it already is. So if we obviously zoom out, we could see that this is the whole entire history of Bitcoin. We see that there are peaks every 4 years and that there are bottoms every 4 years. Right now, we're currently in the middle of the cycle. The very first cycle, it just went straight up. The middle cycle right here, we went up, mid-cycle peak, went down to revisit the low, and then blast off once again. So as we could see right here, we have the lows right here that was established back in November/December of 2022. And right now, we're currently on our way back up. If we assume that, I know history does not indicate future results, but if we assume that history rhymes and we can extrapolate data from past, if we can extrapolate past data into the future, we can assume to see a top approximately about November of 2025. So to sell right now and to not buy right now would not be a very good idea. Now, in terms of where Bitcoin is in comparison to the all-time high, we are very close to the all-time high. Actually, if we look at the green line right here, we are really at the meat of last cycle's bull market right here. So, it would be a good time to sell if it was, perhaps 2021. But right now it's 2024, and we are in a whole different dynamic where the SEC is, having conferences with the likes of BlackRock and Fidelity and Van Eck talking about, Bitcoin ETF approvals. So this is the time to be buying, actually. Even though we are up 165% from last year's low, and over the past 3 months not 3 months, but the past 4 months we're up about 67%. So perhaps our friend Ian, he's suggesting that we sell because Bitcoin is perhaps overheated from from a 67% pump over the last 3 months. But at the end of the day, that's all the technical analysis. Now let's move on to the fundamentals. What makes Bitcoin so valuable is that there's only 21 million coins for the rest of humanity's existence. There will never be more than 21 million Bitcoins, and that in itself is what makes Bitcoin so valuable, because this is the only currency in which that there's a fixed supply. The US dollar will always be printed by the Federal Reserve depending on their needs. The gold, the most notorious store of value for humanity over the past 6,000 years, even that is not fixed. It is scarce. The supply of gold, the circulation, increases approximately 1.5% every year. So the inflation rate of gold is still positive. There's more gold that is found every year. But with Bitcoin, we know that it's baked into the code that there's only 21 million. Not only that, but Bitcoin is the only decentralized monetary system that there is. With the US dollar, it is controlled by the Federal Reserve and the US government. So those are the two entities that have the most power in this fiat system, in which the US dollar is the world reserve currency. Bitcoin is not controlled by anyone. There is no Bitcoin CEO. There is no board meetings for Bitcoin. There are no Bitcoin offices. Bitcoin is completely decentralized. Bitcoin, all it is it's just computer code that no one can touch, no one can change. And if you try to change Bitcoin, all you're doing is creating a new cryptocurrency, which is not Bitcoin. Bitcoin will still exist after you try to create that new currency. So no one, and for your new currency to start rising and get above Bitcoin, you would have to have over 15 years of just up and up and up. And the thing is, your new currency, all it is trying to do is it's trying to be better than Bitcoin. Bitcoin was not trying to be better than Bitcoin. Bitcoin was invented to completely replace the fiat monetary system. Any new altcoin or your version of Bitcoin that you want to make, it's not going to succeed the way Bitcoin has, because its intention is trying to reap the gains that Bitcoin has already made. So 2024 is going to be a very bullish year. In terms of why I'm making this video in specific, we already know, according to the data, according to the charts, according to the fundamentals, according to the news about the Bitcoin halving, as well as the Bitcoin ETF approval, we already know that Bitcoin is going to go up. So this is why we're still buying Bitcoin. If we go to the daily and we look at these daily candles, perhaps our friend Ian was scared because yesterday we did see a drawback of approximately 8% or 9%. That's a pretty sizable drop, I would say. So perhaps that 9% drop spooked him a little bit. But if you've been in the Bitcoin space, a 9% drop is just another day in the park. As you can see here, back in August 23rd, we had a correction, a lot larger. And if we go to this bottom that we saw here in September 11th of this year, we had a 15% drop. So this 10% drop that we had yesterday, it doesn't really match up. And especially this single daily candle here, this was already a 12% drop. And the reason that we kept buying Bitcoin after that is because when we see dips like this is the opportunity to load up. This point right here, this is the exact point where I made that video that is the front page of my YouTube channel, where it says buy Bitcoin now at $26,000, do not wait for lower prices. This is the reason why we're buying Bitcoin, because from this point right here, you buy in August, September, and then 4 months later, we blast up 70%. So that's almost a 100% gains. That's almost doubling our money. That's the reason why we're still buying Bitcoin, honestly. And if we go back to about 1 year ago today, not even 1 year ago today, but probably 11 months ago, this was back in March, right? Yeah, so about 10, 11 months ago, if we take that measured move, look, I can't even go all the way up. We have to zoom out even more to get to where we're at now. So if we take this measured move, we more than doubled. So that's the reason that we were buying. In terms of why are we buying right now, is because I don't believe that we are going to be having an extended down period, because according to past data, that hasn't really happened. Sure, it did happen last cycle, but this is from the pandemic scare. So this was a black swan event. If this never happened, who knows what would have happened, but perhaps we would have held support right here where we see these double bottom right here, this mini double bottom that we saw in November, December right here. We probably would have bottomed out at 6,000 before blast off. But I mean, at the end of the day, we all know that this pandemic scare was the golden opportunity to buy. So we should be happy that this happened, because I remember I bought this wick here, and I have that receipt. I have the receipt that I bought it at $4,500, which was exactly this wick. So I am glad that I had the opportunity to buy, and that is the reason why I'm hoping that this is a local top right here, because if it dips more, that is an excellent opportunity to load up and buy even more. So dips are your friend, actually, because if, let's say that Bitcoin stayed flat this whole entire year and it just stayed at $40,000, and it ranged from 30,000 to 50,000 this whole entire time in 2022, we would have never ever had the golden opportunities to buy at $15,000 to $20,000. So that's why we still buy. That's why we always buy. And every 2 weeks I lump sum my entire paycheck, and it's done nothing but wonders for me. So that's why we still buy Bitcoin. So I cannot wait. This guy, and this is the problem, is when you try to mock me about buying Bitcoin, is now I'm going to be your alarm clock. Every single time Bitcoin's going up, I will be sure to remind you. So, and because I gotta remind you, you asked me a question why I'm still buying Bitcoin, I gotta give you an answer. So, oh man, I wish I could show you guys the comment, but it's all right. But yeah, I mean, there we go. Yeah, Bitcoin started at 20K, and at the end of 23, it's 42K. But in reality, it didn't even start at 20K. It started at 16K at the beginning of the year. So that is the reason why we still buy Bitcoin. It's the best asset that there is to buy. So what if you're not buying Bitcoin? What are you buying? And whatever it is you're buying, is it rising in value against Bitcoin? It's more than likely absolutely not. I mean, here's the chart of Bitcoin in comparison to the S&P 500. The S&P 500 is known to be one of the most sound investments in investing, because ever since its inception, it's returned over 10% per year on average, and 9 out of 10 hedge fund investors cannot outperform the S&P 500 over a long period of time. However, Bitcoin can, and Bitcoin has ever since Bitcoin's inception. Ever since Bitcoin started, its S&P 500 has been losing value against it over the long term. Now, perhaps our friend Ian here, maybe he's not a long-term guy. Maybe he only thinks about the short term. Maybe he, but we all know, like, short-term thinkers do not thrive in this life, because in life is a marathon. It's not a sprint. Perhaps Ian is under the assumption that life is a sprint, but in reality, I am a long-term player. So this is why I buy. This is why I'm still buying Bitcoin. So hopefully that answers your question. I will be sure to upload this right now. And yeah, enjoy your 2024. We will be seeing incredible gains.